First of all, it's nice to see you guys. So I I originally I'm not actually from Georgia Southern, but I did spend an entire year there as an intern as the loan graphic designer for the athletic department. So I worked with all the sports and all the coaches, marketing as well, and communications, and pretty much anything that was like digitally related for social media or website. They would give me those pieces of collateral. So like football, anything you saw in football, anything you saw in basketball, I pretty much did those. Um, I originally came to Georgia Southern from a place called Lindenwood University, which is back in St. Louis, Missouri, where I'm originally from. I went to school for sport management at first, and then it kind of evolved into sports information because I love the communication side. And I did statistics for all the sports. And it got to the point where once I started to design game day programs and game day graphics, I kind of found my niche and kind of found what I really, really enjoy doing. So I pretty much did all their collateral as well. Then after I was at Southern for a year, that was back in Dan. When was that? Was that 2017? Something like that. Yeah. So it was
Yeah, I
about
think
2017
2017.
going to 2018. So it was beginning when Chad Lunsford was the interim head coach for the football team. Then I moved on to went to the University of Kentucky for an entire year. Worked mainly with the women's basketball team, the men's soccer team, softball, track and field. Then I occasionally helped out with men's basketball, and it was a lot of work that detailed into social graphics, signage for each sport, um, occasionally billboards that you would see around the city of Lexington, and then what else did I do while I was there? I also designed T-shirts and a lot of promo items that we would give away to fans. So that would revolve around like T-shirts, posters, any of that kind of stuff. And then I was recruited by the Bucks in the year of 2019, and lo and behold, I joined the Bucks in March of that year, and I've been there ever since. So I'm going on. This is my third off season with the Bucks, and went from a 7-9 team with our quarterback throwing 30 interceptions to winning the Super Bowl the following year. So definitely a roller coaster, I would say. But as far as like doing stuff with the Bucks, I do a lot more things with marketing, more so than just social media. I will post stuff on social media because I do stuff for the digital team. But there's a lot of like extra stuff that people don't really know about that I do, like as far as like flyers for kids events and community relations events, sometimes for marketing as well. We try to pitch partnership ideas to our partners, try to get more money out of them. And I also do things around the events team. So when we have like, for example, we have a annual draft party for our fans to join the stadium during the first night of the draft. And there's a lot of activations going on. There's a lot of games for kids to play, a lot of concessions and all that. We got to make all the signage and all the marketing items for that event. And it's a lot of tedious work, but it's also very rewarding at the same time. And then we got to prepare for schedule release as well coming up, which we have to try to sell tickets through different ticket packagings, goes through emails, things like that. So it's a lot more in-depth stuff than just actually working with the football team themselves. We actually try to sell a product and try to get people in the stands and try to make money from partners. So that is the gist of it. I'm open to any questions that you guys would have. I'm an open book, so.
I have a question. You said you were recruited by the Bucks. How did that happen?
So I'm very active on social media, and I try to like make connections with as many people as I can, like genuine relationships, not just to like, get people's attention on me. Like I actually want to get to know people, and I try to, put my work out there as much as I can. That's the advantage I have compared to like other industries, is like I can visually show my talent and show the work I've done. and that can sell me that I can work for anybody at that point. So I shared a lot of my work with Kentucky, a lot of my work with Georgia Southern, and I updated my portfolio as that sort of sense. And it got to the point where the senior designer from the Bucks at that time was looking to find somebody himself, as opposed to really look through all the applications that were actually on like was Teamwork Online or anything like that. He was looking for people he would specifically want to bring on, and I was one of those people. They DM me on Twitter, asking for my background and asking if I can talk to him and all that sort of thing, and if I was interested in moving to the pros. So that's how that happened. Mainly, what got me there was mainly just sharing my work as much as I can, and occasionally I would try to like talk about how I made the work and what the process was. So that's probably what sold them the most, I would say.
Um, like, what's like the most stressful part of your job?
Stressful?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. The experience I've had with the Bucks has been really, there's been like almost like two different full experiences because of COVID, obviously. The first year or so when I was with the Bucks, when it was the 2019 season, the most stressful part I would say was just the big events that we had to like prepare for all the collateral and try to get things sent to the printer and try to get ownership to sign off stuff. And ownership is very, very particular about what they want. They have strong opinions. So my drafts usually don't get signed off like right away. So the amount of like edits I have to do on my projects and, doing what my upper ups tell me to do, it can go run through sometimes 10 different drafts. And it gets really old after a while to keep looking at the same project over and over again. And that's one of the stressful parts. But then when COVID hit, the whole quarantining and working from home at first was nice, get to do things on my own time, but communication's a lot tougher whenever there's a lot of people doing a lot of different projects, and so is so are my bosses. So communication's a lot slower from home, and that's been really tough because it puts us behind on stuff. But at the same time, like we still churn things out and we still do things pretty efficiently. So it's just sometimes the amount of hours you put in certain projects, that's where it gets a little tough. And what people don't actually know about the NFL industry especially for marketing side is actually the off season's our busiest time of the year compared to the actual season, because we're trying to elevate and try to get ready for the upcoming season. And we use the off season as like the crutch for that. So we have to like worry about what's our brand visually going to look like for the upcoming year. How are we going to evolve from what we look like from the year before? We got to prepare for the draft, and there's a lot of things we got to prepare for that, because we sell hard on the first round pick we have, because like it's the future. We got to like sell that to our ticket holders and be like, hey, you want to come see this guy, in his future, come buy some tickets and watch his rookie year. And the schedule release is probably the also hugest part as well, because like that's where we really got to start preparing for what's going to go down for the upcoming year. And the amount of hours we put in during the off season is just a lot. So I would probably say those are probably the most challenging parts.
Hey, Drew, what is kind of your creative process on coming up with these themes for, schedule releases for graphics? I know like Game of Thrones was a big video release a couple of seasons ago for a lot of teams on schedule releases. How would y'all go about that?
Well, it's a collective effort. There's a lot of the Bucks actually have a lot more people on the creative team than most NFL teams do, and most sports teams in general. So we collectively as a group, especially the design team, we come together and come up with our ideas and brainstorm. And we arrive at to the point where like this is what's successful for our brand, what's tied into what our overall goal is. And then ultimately our art director decides what the direction is going to be. And then we coincide with the video team to see what we can turn out for motion graphics and for highlight vids and all that sort of thing. So it's not like one individual like who decides everything, because we pride ourselves in working as a team. So there will be times where you might have an idea that you might think is great, but there might be an even better idea by one of your other folk, and then you can build your ideas off of what their ideas are. So you have to have like a selfless standpoint as far as like, hey, I want to be able to showcase I did something really really cool. It was only me, and I get to show it that it got posted on the Bucks social media or anything like that. Doesn't always work that way, but there are opportunities that you can do that. So, but when it comes to schedule release stuff, it's definitely a collective effort because there's a lot of items that needs to be created, and not one person can take all on all that stuff. So that's how it's usually brainstorming, and then we just build off from there. It takes some time. It takes a couple weeks to really build into what is our visual going to look like. So it's definitely not an overnight thing.
What do you look forward to the most with your position or your job?
Well, probably two things. One, I love working on stuff where I have free creative reign, where not ownership doesn't really say or reject something I do, and that's usually what we do for game day posters every week. I usually do about 4 of them a year, and I can do whatever I want from an artistic standpoint. The only requirement is to at least have the matchup somewhere on the poster itself. That is my favorite project to work on. And there actually is another project I get to work on for the draft party where it's called a club member print. So for our exclusive season ticket holders who will be going to the party, I get to make a poster that's exclusive just for them. They only print out 500 of them, and I get free creative reign to do whatever I want on that. So that's a lot of fun. And then, like any of you guys would love if you were working for a team, is like to be able to go to the games and like experience the game day experience. What I usually do on game day is I work from the press box, and then I just update the score graphics throughout the game, and sometimes like player of the game stuff. So it's not like, for my job, it's not incredibly taxing. So I actually invest my time in just watching the game as a fan and as a worker too. So that's definitely the most rewarding part, because out of all the work you do during the season, during the off season, you ultimately work your way to just watch the games and be rewarded for it. So that's probably what I would say.
How many graphics do you have to like shoot out like each day? Like I know you say you have scheduled release. Like how many do you like shoot out like each day?
It just depends. It varies. It varies on the day, because there'll be sometimes like towards the towards really the middle of the season, of the regular season, there was not much for us to really work on except for like the templated work we've already created out from the beginning of the year, whether that's like game day graphics and all that. Like we don't recreate those every week. We just update them with like whoever we're playing against. So it makes it a lot easier on us. So during the season, it's really not as like taxing. So we might have 1 or 2 projects that we need to get done in one day. And as opposed to the off season, like my production list right now, I had 5 things due today. So, and then tomorrow I'm gonna have 4, and then there's gonna be edits and revolving around. So it's just each day it varies. Sometimes it's different projects. Sometimes some of them have different importance levels of when they need to get done. Sometimes there's a little bit more flexibility. But during this time of the year, there's a lot of urgency. So we're on the clock all the time, just churning things out. So it just depends.
Drew, can you tell us, or did anything or your experience at Georgia Southern, how did that maybe help you get to where you are right now?
Well, building the relationships actually helped a lot. Probably the most is like just being able to, understand like which person that you're working with or working for, what they need, and understand where they're coming from in their shoes. But also at the same time, making sure they understand what you need from them as well. So you have to find a way to develop building relationships with people in your office. And that's where everything becomes successful, because communication is the strongest tool you can have. And then as it pertains to my job, I just did whatever I could as far as like trying to like get everybody as much products as possible, and to show that I can put the work in and put in a qualitative effort. So whatever opportunities you guys can take as far as like trying to get better or trying to get yourself out there, any opportunities you can get from like volunteer work or anything like that, it's helpful because it tells the person that you're volunteering for that you're willing to put in the work. And also they'll see your work ethic as well and your passion for what you want to do. So, and I know there's been a few people that have gone through Georgia Southern that have done so, and then they've gone on to just do some really good things. So, communication, building relationships, and putting in whatever effort you can into all the opportunities you can get. Those are the three most important things.
When you said you like have your portfolio, did you like do like a website, or did you like have everything on like Google Drive and send it off? Like, how did you do that?
I do use a website tool called Behance. It's actually engineered by Adobe. I've been actually wanting to create my own website for a while. I just haven't had time to, but that's going to be my goal for this year, is to create my own website from scratch. But that's where you can upload projects onto that tool and use them as like different categories. So that's what I use. And I put my link to my portfolio in all the websites I have, like LinkedIn or Twitter or even Instagram if I want to. So that's where everyone can see my work.
Can you advance in your position?
What was that again? Sorry.
Can you advance in your position, like go up and further into what you do basically?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now if it means to be in one place, that's a different story. It just depends on, as far as like promotional opportunities or not. That's a little tougher to do it in-house. Sometimes there'll be open jobs available on the market where right now I am just called as a graphic designer. It's a good role to have, but the next goal for me is to move up into a director role where I can actually lead my own design team, and we can work together to do our own brand visually. And that's the next step. I think I have like another year or two left before I take the next step. Whether that's here or not, I don't know, but that's the next biggest goal. So just having a little bit more authority over what the brand visually looks like is going to be my next goal.
Drew, since most of us are, we're in the marketing side of things, less on the design, that we've got a few guys that are a few of our students that are really talented at design. But since we're on the marketing side, what are some things that you wish people on our side knew about your job, or, like frustrations that you have with us when we come to you with a design idea or a concept? Like what do you just want to tell us, so that way when we work with our graphic designers here, we're doing the right things and making your job easy?
So what we usually expect out of people who we work with, it's not just marketing too. It's with any department we have here, is when a project is requested, every single bit that you need as far as like information, copy, and dimensions of the certain project always needs to be provided for us to even like start something off. Because if one of those three is not provided, then we have nothing to go based off of that. And if the dimension is wrong, then that dictates the entire design layout. So that is very important. And then whatever your message is that the marketing team wants to convey, that needs to be provided as well, because we can't just guess on what they ask for. And asking for things in a timely manner, like gives us about 2 days, 3 days to be able to like come up with a draft and then get a final draft out so it can be approved. Because ask for things on the same day is usually unrealistic unless one of our billionaire owners ask for it in the same day. Then you can't really say anything about that. But it's usually being timely and providing as much detail as possible for the project you want, because we don't want to be guessing and all that sort of thing.
I have a question.
Yep.
What do you do like to get better at your skills? Like since you're at the professional level and y'all do like, since you said y'all kind of do like templates and things like that, how do you stay like creative and keep coming with fresh ideas and get better at your skill?
That's a great question, actually. Um, well, what was helpful this past year was the fact that we signed Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, kind of like motivate all of us to design better. So that actually kind of helped. So, but as far as like keeping yourself motivated and keeping your creativity intact, what's helpful is we have a bunch of talented designers on our staff to motivate us and drive us to like dig deep and to see how we can build our brand, inside and out. But but the helpful thing is, and this is where the owners understood where we came from, is that we can't be just designing the same thing redundantly all the time. So that's where they gave us the opportunities to create free creative reign on these poster ideas, because they can also be items that we can sell to our fans. So we can do whatever we want on that. And what I usually do as far as like trying to find ideas or trying to like have an idea, just start rolling and see if I can evolve it, I just look for inspiration on different portfolio sites as much as I can for whatever theme I try to come up with. So, because there's a lot of great work out there to get inspired by without plagiarizing it, obviously. But that's the helpful part, because if we honestly did not have like opportunities to like do things from a free creative range standpoint, it gets a lot tougher to keep your ideas sharp. So usually I will use my freelance projects that I occasionally do for separate clients as opportunities to churn out my creativity as much as I can, because my clients are usually pretty lenient with me as that's concerned. So
Okay, and eventually you said that you wanted to build your own design team. Like at the professional level, what skills would you like be looking for when you are looking for somebody or wanting to build your own design team?
willing to just be able to be team friendly, and also, someone, because someone also like we can always learn from somebody else. I want to have, designers who would challenge me, because just like we challenge our director as well, because we're always open to different ideas, because obviously we don't know everything. There's always opportunity to learn something. So I want to have people who are willing to give ideas and explain where they got their ideas from, and then, because that'll help me get better as well. And obviously, as well as just, having the passion for the job also helps as well. And team oriented, you know, obviously it's not it's been for a long time not been the most sought out thing to try to develop friendships with your coworkers. You keep it professional, but where I'm at right now, it's not like that at all. We have very strong chemistry from, that standpoint, and that's kind of how we've gotten better, because we get so used to each other to the point where we're willing to critique each other without getting frustrated with someone or whatever like that. So keep it a fun environment, light environment. It also helps. So my biggest goal is to make sure my design team is a fun one, but also a very productive one. That's my ultimate goal in the future.
So do y'all have like big like think tank meetings like when y'all meet up like every day, or do y'all just do your own thing?
Yeah. So like 3 times a week, usually Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the design team will meet up on Zoom and talk about the production list and all that. Then we'll also share what we've been working on. And then that's when we'll chime in and like say, hey, have you thought about this? Would this work better than what you have right now? Sort of thing. Then every Monday we have an entire digital meeting where we meet with the video team, the social team, and the photographers, and just talk about how we can coordinate things with them. Like if we need some questions or need some needs from the photogs, we'll ask them for stuff and see if they can get us something. And also just come up with different social campaign ideas. That's the biggest thing. Um, so we probably should be having those meetings a little more often than just once a week. But when we do, we usually come up with a lot of different ideas that we can think of moving forward.